Good morning, everyone. It's Howard Deerhauser alongside my dad, Dr. G. In today's video, we wanted to talk a little bit more about the coronavirus and what you should be doing while you are quarantined, if you are. I know a lot of us, work's been canceled, we're at home. Some of us are sulking and kind of worried about what's going on. But we wanted to give you some practical advice. That way you can take advantage of this time at home to build your immune system, make sure that your mental state is doing okay. I know this can be a fearful time, but what we're going to share is how you can kind of transmute that fear into, at worst, neutrality, but even into excitement and happiness for some of this time off and really take advantage of it. So one of the first things that we wanted to talk about is getting outside. Now, I know a lot of the recommendations maybe within your city is to stay at home. However, if you read the fine print, it says you can walk with your dog, go for walks outside, and you really need to make sure you're getting outside, especially in a time like this. So, Dad, what are some of the benefits of getting outside and not just cooping yourself up inside?
Okay, yeah, it's really important to not stay indoors. And that's because the sun has so many benefits on our system, and it really controls how effective our immune system. So there's two things with our immune system. We want it to act appropriately, and we want it not to overact. And both of those factors are controlled by our circadian rhythms to some degree. And this research has been worked out in excruciating detail, exactly how it works. I'm not going to go into any of the science right now, but they've shown that there's maximum appropriate response by the immune system if we have the natural daylight exposure that we would have if we were a hunter-gatherer living outside, or if we were a wild animal. So we would see the sun rise. We see the sunrise without sunglasses or windows, because windows block some of the frequencies of the light and make it artificial. So artificial light is not what we're designed for. So it shouldn't come through a window. It shouldn't come through glasses. It shouldn't come through contact lenses. It needs to be you and that star that's closest to us, that beautiful yellow-orange star that's closest to us, that really, its frequencies of light create all life on Earth and makes all life on Earth possible. So that's a critical factor. So people are indoors watching TV, looking at their computer screen, on social media all day long. They're really shooting themselves in the foot, and they're going to make themselves theoretically more vulnerable to getting the virus, or if you do get the virus, more vulnerable to getting a severe reaction. So there's new report just out today. And of course, there's new reports every day, but the CDC is saying that young people get severe, and this is say age 20 to 60, get severe illness at a pretty high percent, like almost above 30%, not 30% of the cases, but 30% of the people that get severe disease are in this other age group that's much younger. And so that's kind of surprising. They are much less likely to die, but they still wind up in the ICU. So you do not want to wind up in the ICU unless absolutely necessary, because it puts a huge stress on our medical system right now, because ICU, requires, multiple nurses, multiple doctors. These nurses and doctors are going to be worn out. You don't want to fall back to that. I have to be in the ICU, because if this thing peaks, like a lot of people are predicting, that's not going to be available. So you can't say, oh, well, I'll go to ICU, where they paralyze you, they breathe for you. It's not a fun experience. Plus, they have really resistant germs in the hospital. Okay, so I'm sort of getting off track, but staying indoors all day is the worst thing you can do. And then the other thing is I would say all day wear blue blocking glasses if you're looking at screens, because what blue light from our screens does is we have a photoreceptor in our eyes and on our skin called melanopsin, and melanopsin is loosely bound to vitamin A, and blue light has a higher energy than, say, red light. So the screens don't have red light. Red light regenerates and allows us to tolerate the more powerful frequencies of blue light. So when we look at the sun, there's a lot of red and there's also blue. If we look at our screen, there's a lot of blue, there's almost no red, the regeneration part of it. So if you're looking at a screen even all day, even if it's daylight, you're separating this bond between melanopsin and vitamin A. And what does that do? It creates damage to your immune system, damage to your energy. So it just isn't good. It just isn't good. So I would say try to be outside at various times during the day. Be outside at sunrise, because that sets the circadian clock, that first light of the sun. And then I would be out in mid-morning as the UV light starts to come through, be out at noontime, builds the vitamin D, especially if you're in the north. Right around now, you're going to start getting vitamin D back because UVB that leaves in the winter is going to come back. And then I'd be out in the afternoon, and if possible, I would see the sunset. So, a 15-minute break, boom, boom. And, if you're sitting around doing nothing, make that an hour break, be outside more versus less. So for two reasons, the blue light indoors, the artificial light if it's coming through windows, and then the setting the circadian rhythm, building vitamin D, and then ultraviolet light kills the virus on your skin. So if you're out in the midday, you're going to kind of disinfect your skin. So those are really important, and I would say is a key. Now, melatonin is the sleep hormone. We build melatonin with two stimulus. One stimulus is the ultraviolet light in our eye in the mid-morning. That activates the precursor molecule to make melatonin. And then darkness causes it to be released. So we want to do those two things, have darkness after the sun goes down, either through artificial glasses that block, we talked about that before, but block 550 nanometers and low. That's part of the green and all the blue spectrum at night. You can buy those glasses, Google it. A lot of companies make those glasses. So you wear the glasses at night to preserve your melatonin, because guess what? Melatonin might be one of the best treatments to treat COVID-19. No one knows. There's no time to do studies, but it has antiviral properties. It has immune stimulating properties. So it could be that we find out that a huge dose of melatonin might be good. I don't recommend that at this point, but maybe having some melatonin on hand, and then if we find out in the future that it is helpful, although probably no one's going to study something like that. I'm not a fan of supplementing melatonin on a regular basis, but I am a fan of you producing your maximum amount of natural melatonin, and you need to do that with the morning sunlight in your eyes and on your skin if possible. I would also try to be grounded as you do this, because that just makes you absorb more of the benefits of sunlight if you're grounded, meaning you're barefoot on the ground. If you live in New York City and it's just sidewalks outside, maybe you wouldn't do that. And the last aspect, if you're indoors all day, you're exposed to non-native electromagnetic fields, okay? Our cells communicate, our heart gives off an electromagnetic field. That's how life works, electromagnetic field. But then man comes along, builds our high-tech stuff, powerful electromagnetic fields coming out of our cell phone, our Wi-Fi, our cell towers, our radio broadcast towers, our television broadcast towers, our power grid inside our house, and the wires inside our walls. All these things give off electromagnetic fields. So if you're indoors, you're exposed to all of those, unless you shut some of them off. So what does that do? It kind of does the same thing that blue light does. It causes more reactive oxygen species, which damages our immune system and damages the cells within our body.
In getting outside, you connect with the resonance of the earth, the electromagnetic field of the earth. So that's going to put you in a more connected feeling, a higher vibration. So if you're someone who's feeling anxious or fearful about the current situation, that's a really easy tool, reconnecting nature, or with nature, I should say, to mitigate that fear, transmute that fear into peace. So the more time you spend outside and the less time you spend checking the news, checking social media, the more from a mental standpoint you're going to feel at peace with where you're at. And use this as an opportunity to reconnect with nature, to reconnect with who you are and with what your purpose is, to start planning your next move. These are all really important. Take advantage of the time off, but don't just sit inside sulking, drinking wine, and complaining to everyone about how terrible it is, because that's not going to help you. And that's going to make you more vulnerable to the virus as well if you're living in a state of fear and anxiety. And there's other techniques for mitigating stress that we talk about. I recommend going and watching, 10 health protocols that your doctor will never tell you about. That's one of our most popular videos, and that'll give you a bunch of different ideas on things you can do during this self-quarantine. Anything you want to add to that, Dad?
Yeah, kind of one of the ways I look at it, stress is another thing that eventually, stress for long periods of time eventually depletes our immune system as well. So if we're totally stressed out about this, we're going to make things worse. And being stressed out about it, I mean, yes, it's fine to find out what actions you need to take and take those actions, but just ruminating on it, spinning I should have done this last week. The economy, I'm going to lose my job, is going to happen next month. If you keep spinning that stuff in your head like this, you're going to make yourself more vulnerable to the virus, and you're not going to make your situation any better. In fact, you're going to make it worse because you're more likely to get sick. You're more likely to be mean to other people. When this is a time we need to love other people, we need to come together. Now think of winter, winter when all the flowers die and all the leaves die. But right now, we're coming up soon, depending on where you live, you're going to see that flower, that unbelievably beautiful God's creation, push up through the soil and the perfect flower bloom. You can go out in your yard and look at that flower, look at that miracle of nature, and get a sense of awe and be in the present moment. So what you want to do is practice being in the present moment. If you're in the present moment, there's nothing to worry about. The job, I'll face that issue when it comes. Where, I didn't sell my stocks when I should have. There's nothing you can do about it now. And, and I know from my own experience, it's like, oh God, I almost sold them and I didn't. What a regret. You just got to let it go. You got to stay right here. If you stay right here, unless you're in ICU, then yeah, the present moment might not be so great. Or if you're at the point where you're checking out, but believe it or not, every human being has to die. Every human being has made it through that, so it's not such a special stress that even if the worst case scenario, you catch the virus and you die, that's normal. We all die. That's normal nature. Okay. So look at the flower, get in the present moment, even a blade of grass or even the bare limb of a tree that the leaves are still gone because you live somewhere in the north has incredible beauty, and you can contemplate it in the present moment. A stream, a waterfall, a building, it doesn't matter what it is. You can get in the present moment with that thing, and your immune system will work better. You'll treat the people around you better, and we'll just have an easier time getting through this if we all try to put this into practice.
And if you also look at this as an opportunity for that practice, maybe before the coronavirus became a pandemic, you were caught up in the rat race or always about the next thing and didn't spend a whole lot of time in the present moment. This is your opportunity to practice that and to kind of get rooted again in what's important and figure out what your priorities are. Spend time with those you care about, reconnect with nature. This is an opportunity where we're all forced to slow down a little bit and take a deep breath, and realize how dependent we've been on these stories we've been telling ourselves and how little we've actually lived in the present moment. So look at this as an opportunity to heal yourself, to reconnect with who you truly are, to love more, and to unattach from all of these other things that you thought were real in your life and identify the truth for yourself. So I think that's it for this one. We'll be on tomorrow. We appreciate the support. Hopefully this is helping you guys, and stay healthy, stay safe. We'll talk to you on the next video. Thanks, Dad.
Thanks.